Alrighty, today we're going to be installing the Falcon 25R matte black exit device. This is an Allegion product, and here's what it's going to look like right inside the box. This is going to come with your exit trim, so we'll go ahead and get some tools to get started. We'll need some impact drivers and just a basic toolkit. And you can see that this is a very high-end retail location. So I really feel that getting more options as far as colors are going to really help out in these situations. Having the matte black option obviously is going to blend in with the door, and the customer was more than willing to pay the additional higher price for this product simply because it was available in the finishes. All of my screws are out, but it's not coming out, and that's because they cocked it in. Gonna continue to take the original exit device off. Little 12-volt impact driver works extremely well for this. And yes, they did cock that other device to the door, so we'll have to do the same to hide those lines when we get done with this one here. It's going to come with the security ring for your cylinder. And then this is the cylinder that's coming out of the old exit trim. We're just going to go ahead and pull that castle nut off of this one. Now, they did not go for the Duranautic cylinder or a darker colored cylinder, even though we did offer it. They chose not to do that. So we will have a silver cylinder with black trim, but that is customer's choice. Install the security ring, and we're going to have to rehand this too. I believe it's in the wrong handing, but the good news is that it is field handable, and if we're going to put this cylinder in, we might as well go ahead and do that. All right, so now we've got to rehand this because that handing is incorrect. We need to make this handle go on that side. Let me start off with a Phillips head screwdriver. And then we'll mount the cylinder in there. Yes, I know the cylinder is silver and everything else is matte black. I did not want to spend the money on replacing the cylinder, so that's why it's going to be silver. All the rest is black. If they want to upgrade it at a later point, they can. Okay. So we've got here. This is holding this thing together. Oh, there's another screw in here. A hidden screw. There it goes. Okay, so I take something apart, I set it down, and then usually we'll take pictures along the way as well. And take this out. And we've got a snap ring here. So what we need to do is take this out and flip it around. Yes, I do have snap ring pliers around here somewhere, but I don't have time for that right now. I couldn't find them. Okay, so that's going to come off. I'm going to set him right there so I can find him again. That's going to come off, and I switch it over to there. Flip that around. Did you flip this around or not? Left hand. Let's see. Looks like we might need to flip that around too. Good. This is centered. Okay. And we'll put everything back together again. Oops. Snap ring back on. Just go ahead and start reassembling everything back together. Put the springs back in place, put the plate back in place. Now is a great time to put the cylinder in, now that we don't have that other piece of metal in the way. Just go ahead and tighten that down as much as we can. Then the back plate goes on. Screws go in place. And we are now successfully rehanded. I'm actually really impressed with the spring tension and quality of this design. I like the way everything fits together very nicely, and it definitely feels like a durable, solid unit. It's not just about looks, it actually functions well as well. Here we've got the template that you can use to help guide the holes if you want to. I find that a lot of times it sets it just a little bit too close, and the head will often hit, when you put the trim over the head, will often hit the strike. So I like to line it up with the actual device itself. And a little tip that you can use for holding the device in place and lining everything up is actually putting some tape on. I just use this Gorilla Tape. Want to make sure it's not too sticky so we don't pull the paint off of the door. You could use painter's tape, but painter's tape tends to rip fairly easily. So it's your choice as far as what's going to work best with your application, but that's a cool little trick to help things sit in place while you go ahead and get your holes all lined out. I like to go ahead and stick that tape real thick underneath and real durable, and that way when you set it up there, it holds it in place long enough for you to get your measurement. Now I'm using some basic generic self-tapping screws to align the strike, and then we will pull those out and use the supplied hardware that actually provides the matte black screws that both meet the UL listing requirements of the exit device and match much better as well. So we're just making sure that everything's fitting nice. Those self-tapping screws just so happen to be the perfect thread to pre-drill for the black screws that come with it. They also, if you ever have concrete filled frames, it's always nice to use a self-tapping screw. That way you don't ruin a drill bit when you get through the metal and get into the concrete. Here it is all mocked up. You can see how that tape holds everything into place. It can be your extra set of hands. I'm making sure that everything's engaging with the dead latch and that there's room for the door to sag. The door is always going to sag down as the hinges break down and wear down. Therefore, always making sure that you plan for some of that room and the play to be at the bottom of it as the door ages and sags is going to be the best bet, in my opinion. Once again, we're using these self-tapping screws to just mock everything up into place. Make sure that everything is functioning correctly, because it's going to be much easier to move that around with a self-tapping screw rather than drilling through all of the through bolts. We don't want to drill the through bolts until we are 100% confident that we have the exit device mounted in the correct location and that everything is functioning and lined up very well. Here we're going to put that piece of head trim on. Notice how everything is nice and tight. However, we do not actually hit the head of that. That is one thing you want to make sure. I usually give it just a tiny little bit of gap. It's easier to space the strike plate out than have everything located and find out that the head trim is hitting the strike as it comes in. Even if it hits it so slightly, they paid for pretty looking hardware. Eventually over time that would scratch and scrape it and it would not look so pretty, so you want to make sure that there's no engagement and that it's not hitting any of that head trim. Now we're going to use the supplies matte black screws, and we're also going to set the center screw in place so that it can't move. Having these bubble levels on your phone is a great way to make sure that everything is nice and level. Your door might not be level, your frame might not be level, but the exit device will most definitely be level when you do it this way. There's the nice button right there. You can see, super easy, super clean, super clear. And again, we're going to use these self-tapping screws until we can get the actual screws that come with the device. And then once we have everything set and perfect and drilled and tapped, I'm going to use one of those drill taps right now. That's a 1/4x20 drill tap, and that's going to drill through the door, and it's also going to tap it to the 1/4x20 thread that we need. You want to be careful with those drill taps. They're very useful and very handy, but if they break, they can be a bit of a pain to correct that issue. Now we're putting the end cap on, just doing test fitting on everything, making sure that everything fits functionally and fully. Here again, we're showing that everything is nice and level and straight. Then we're going to use these drill bits to go ahead and drill the through holes through the door. Pull the self-tapping screws out. Those are going to also center our other holes for our through bolts. So we just use the drill bit to drill that hole all the way through. And then we're going to mount the exit trim on the outside. And yet again, using that trick with the duct tape will help you so that it doesn't, as you're pushing the through bolts through, it doesn't push the device off the other side. You kind of got to have 4 hands to hold the exit device, run the through bolt through, hold the exit trim together, and put everything together. That piece of tape is really going to help everything out. And then having the end cap mounted on this exit device is also going to help hold things. Once you have it in place, simply put the 1/4x20 through bolt or through screws that go into the exit trim through, and then everything will be held up nice and solid. Before you crank everything down, again, you're going to want to make sure that everything is nice and level. Before you do that, you're going to make sure that everything is nice and level and flat before cranking everything down. And then we're testing. It is locked, and then we're going to test with the key. Go ahead and put the key in, and we get a release. It allows the lever to engage and unlock the exit device so that we can open it. Looks like our strike is not coming out all the way, so there's some kind of bind. So we're going to figure out what that bind is. We're going to correct it now. Okay, looks like it's working much smoother and better now. And then we'll go ahead and put that end cap back on. We are going to go ahead and paint this door too. It had, the exit device was slightly shorter than the other unit, so we're going to want to make sure that we paint everything, make everything look as good as possible. And then now I always test and push and kick on that unit. If the dead latch is not engaged properly, the door will fly open, and this is my test for doing so. Everything looks great. And it matches.
Lovely.
Just be real careful. There's a little bit of wet paint right here and a little bit of wet paint over there because it's not the exact same size as the other one. But I ran a nice bead of caulk there to tighten everything up. Ran one on the bottom too. Everything touches and works really nice. Go ahead and go out. You can touch the front. Okay, and then if we look up here, your door closer is no longer falling out like it was before. Remember?
That's why it wasn't shutting correctly today?
Yes. Yes. So now go ahead and it should be locked. Verify that it's locked and then turn the key the other way. Imagine that.
Now.
What do you think?
I think that's great. Okay, wait.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then you can lock it.
Right, all the things.
Yeah. Then if you want to leave it open, we can also do what's called dogging, where we take this little Allen head guy right here and you just leave it like that.
Love it.
And it stays unlocked all day.
I love it.
So.
And we don't have to.
And you don't have to use that anything anymore. And then you can come and go as you please.
My favorites. Thank you.
Then to undo it, you just stick the Allen key in and turn it.
Okay, awesome.
Then you won't have people just coming in randomly.
Yeah.
I'll need that key back.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and work on the front door now for you too. This was the big project, so.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Just a few other still photos showing that we're installing the plate that allows the dogging device. Here's what that dogging device looks like inside, just so you understand what it looks like. And then here's the exit device mounted before we painted. And here's the exit trim on the outside. Everything looks really nice, turned out really clean. This is where their customers have to go through to use the restroom. So yet another job done, and the Falcon matte black exit device is fully installed.